Hello everyone, today we'll talk about the solution of the problem XOR queries of a subarray. For answering subarray XOR queries, we can use the same powerful technique that we use for subarray sum queries, and that technique is either prefix sum or in this case prefix XOR. That's because when we look at perhaps the more familiar situation where we are asking for the sum of some subarray, then it's clear that if we know the sum of every prefix of our array, there is only n prefixes, so it's easy to remember that sum. It's also easy to calculate it because if we know the sum of this prefix, then we can get the sum of this prefix by just adding this element, this prefix, this element, so on. Now to answer what is the sum of this subarray here, we take the prefix up to the end, we subtract the prefix up to before the beginning, and that is exactly the sum of that subarray. And typically in the implementation, and we'll do it here, we add a 0 at first, so essentially as if there was another 0 of elements, so that if we ask about the sum of a prefix, then we subtract the sum on that empty prefix, which is 0. And this would be what we do for summing, and that's because we can calculate prefix sums by just adding elements. And you have this subtraction operation, which allows us to take the sum of something bigger, take the sum of something smaller, and combine them to get the sum of the remaining part. This is subtraction when we calculate sums, when we add elements. And for XOR it's even simpler, because we know that A XOR B is just equal to A. For those who are not familiar how XOR works, XOR is a binary operation such that bitwise it's 0 if both the elements are the same, 1 if both the elements are different. And it's clear to see here why XORing with the same thing twice doesn't change the result. That's because it essentially either adds a 1 twice, which is as if we didn't do anything, or it doesn't add a 1 and it's as if we didn't do anything. XORing with 0 doesn't do anything. And of course, what we're interested in when it comes to XOR is that the reverse operation of XORing is in this case exactly XORing again. So if we have A XOR B and we want to get A, then we have to XOR B. So in terms of if we had a plus, then we had to use a minus. If we have an XOR, we have to use another XOR. Which means that to solve this problem, if we have prefix XORs of every prefix of our array, we can just take the prefix XOR for the prefix up to the end here, this should be the same thing, and subtract the XOR to before the beginning of that subarray. Implementation is trivial. We start with a 0, we go through every element in our array and append the previous prefix XOR XORed with it, and now for every query from L to R, we take the prefix XOR of R plus 1, this is the prefix XOR of everything, up to the end, and XOR it with everything up to before the prefix. We use list comprehension to generate the result in a single line, and this is the whole implementation.